What's up guys, I'm Simon with Z1 Off-Road, and today we're going to be installing grille lights on our D41 Frontier. This is going to be a super easy install and I'll show you guys how to do it, so let's get to it. Alright, so assembling your grille lights is really easy. You're going to have 2 nuts, 2 thumb screws, your lights, your clips, and your harness. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and install the lights onto the clips, and so I just take the light, put it over these 2 studs. I'll take these nuts, then I'll take our thumb screws, and those will thread right into the top. I'm going to keep these thumb screws very loose. I just want to start the threads on these until it's time to finish the install. Then I'm going to grab a very small socket and tighten up those 2 screws. So I'm not even using a socket driver on the back of this because it doesn't take much to tighten it. I'm just going to go ahead and snug these up pretty good. And that's that. So the light with the clip is assembled, and that will just plug into the pigtail on the harness. So that's that, and then that plugs in there, and we're ready to put it on the truck. Okay. All right, so the first thing we got to do is remove this panel so that we can get the grille out. This will be easy. It might look a little different depending on what year your truck is. Some of the trucks, the 2023 and up, come with some shutters up here, but those aren't going to be any problem. You know, we'll just work around that. We've also got our prototype supercharger on here. So like I said, some of the stuff might look a little different, but the process is going to be the exact same. So these clips are real easy to remove. We'll just go ahead and pop those out. So there's going to be a Torx screw right there and a Torx screw right there. So you'll want to remove those. We already did that, and now we are ready to pull this plastic tray out. All right, so once those screws are out, from here I'm going to give us a little bit of room, and I'm just going to pull on the grille outwards. It's going to pop out of place. I'm going to do that on both sides, and then I'll be able to take this tray off. So just kind of gently pull on that. Don't want to break it, but should be straightforward. Just pops out of place. And then from here, you can see there's little plastic clips that hold this tray on. We'll just slide those out. All right, so we're getting these last couple clips. You can either do this with a flathead or probably just with your finger. You'll just pull up on that. You can see it popped out. Got one more right here. And now this whole thing is ready to come out. All right, so we've got our tray out and we've got the grille popped out just a little bit, and that gives us just enough room to reach in and install our lights. It's up to you how you want to space them out, but what we're gonna do is go here, 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 and here. But like I said, that's personal preference, so you could go these 2 and these 2, however you see fit. I'm gonna do this with the harness disconnected and then plug that in after, but really it's up to you, whatever you think's easier. You don't want to be able to see any of the threads poking through there just yet, so I'm going to back this out a little bit. And now I'm going to push this rubber guard out of place. Some trucks might or might not have that. And I'll stick the grille light there over this lip, and then I'm going to reach in and tighten up those thumb screws. So you don't want to go crazy with this, but get them pretty snug. You can even put some orange Loctite on there if you want. But we haven't had any issues with them backing out, so just gonna snug them up by hand. We can go ahead and install this in the outside position. If you've got this rubber flap here, you'll just push it out of the way and slide that down in place and up and over that lip. So if you guys can see, I've got this just resting on this lip. I'm gonna tighten this thumb screw and this thumb screw. So I'm just gonna go ahead and snug these up pretty good by hand. Not gonna go crazy with it. All right, so you can see it's installed. Those thumb screws are torqued down and the light's not going anywhere. So Got one more to do here and one more to do right here. All right. So I'm about to install the last clip, and then it'll be time to put our harness in place. There are little zip tie clips right here, so if you want, you can route the wires however you like, but this is really helpful for keeping it up and out of the way so you don't see your wires hanging down below the grill. So your zip tie will just run through this clip, and then you can tie the harness up like that, and it'll keep it up and out of sight. All right, last step. So we've got our grill lights clipped into place, and we're ready to install the wiring harness. This is going to be really easy. Basically, we're going to route over to the passenger side of the truck and up to the fuse box. But for now, I'm going to start on the opposing end with our farthest connector, and I'm just going to plug this right into the back of the farthest light. Going to plug that in there. Next one in line. Got one more here. I'm gonna make sure I stay in front of the hood latch. And then the last one is on this opposing end. Just grab this connector and plug it in. So on the earlier trucks that don't have the shutters here, the active shutters, you won't have this rubber strip, so you might need that zip tie a little bit more, but since we have the rubber strip here, it's actually gonna help a lot to keep the harness out of sight. All right, so just to show you guys a little bit easier what's going on here, we're gonna go ahead and remove the front grille. You certainly don't have to do this, but you know, it can make it easier, personal preference, but you can definitely do this just by pulling back. But like I said, just to illustrate it a little bit better, we're gonna go ahead and pull this off. Disconnect the camera here. And you can see we've already got our lights installed. We just pulled these bottom clips out just to get it off of there. And yeah, the install is pretty straightforward. It just sits on the top lip of all of these slots. Tighten these thumb screws down, and then we can zip tie our harness up and out of the way if you so choose. So you can see we've got that tied up, and that's just gonna keep the connector from dangling down in front of the grill where you might be able to see it. So I'll do that for the other four. And so, like I mentioned, you can do all this on the truck. You don't have to remove the grill, but if you find that makes it easier, then it's really not too hard to go ahead and pull the whole thing off. So since we wanted to pin the harness right up close to the grill to keep it out of sight, you might find that it's easier to pull the clip off and then start that zip tie. Do that, and then we'll slide the clip back in place. Loosen these up a little bit. Loosen that up. Push that down into place. Tighten that up, and then we'll snip the extra off that zip tie. If you're going to be doing this in your driveway and you do decide to take the grill off, you probably just want to throw a towel or something under there to keep it from getting scratched up. You don't have to pull the lights off to do this, but might make it a little easier because we put this in there. It sits really close up against the face of the grill. Keeps that harness out of the way. So up to you. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the light back in place. Loosen these thumb screws all the way. Oops. Push that down. Just make sure that's seated completely flat, and tighten those thumb screws just by hand. Don't want to go crazy with it. Just take some snips and I'll come through and cut off the extra on those zip ties. So this is much easier to put back on than it is to take off. So all we got to do is snap this in place. All right, so this is ready to go back in place. I'm gonna go ahead and route the rest of the harness up and through the core support, but just gonna pass that through and grab it on the other side. And then we're gonna run this up towards our fuse box. Go ahead and pull that through. And I'll just leave this resting over here near the fuse box. All right, so before I re-snap these top clips in for the grill, we're gonna go ahead and put this plastic trim piece back in place. So you can bend it a little bit, just put it up under the hood latch. All right, and we're gonna make sure the wires don't get pinched, and we're just going to snap these clips back into place. All right, so easy as that. You can replace these torque screws on the two ends here. Make sure this is sitting up on this edge, and we'll go ahead and snap the grill back in. So grill is installed, just gotta replace these plastic clips, and then we'll plug in the harness. It's all installed. You can see we got our 4 lights here, nice and sleek. You know, we wanted those to be not really noticeable when they're not on, but certainly they'll look really cool when they are on. So now all we gotta do is plug them in. All right, so we got our lights installed, and we routed our harness up through the core support all the way over here to the fuse box in the back. And now what we're ready to do is we're gonna wanna disconnect our negative lead. So I'll do that real quick. This is just good practice, you know, when you're doing anything electrical. Then I'm gonna pull our fuse box cover, pop that out, set that aside. And then this is our fuse panel back here. It's kind of a mess, but these clips, you can pull these and then pop this up, and it is a little bit easier to get to. So we have already removed the fuse just to make it easier to show you guys which one we're gonna put it on. You know, depending on, you know, when you want your lights to come on, there's multiple options. Just if you're going to do a non-10 amp fuse, you know, our kit comes with a 10 amp fuse pre-installed, so you'll want to swap that out for whatever amperage you're running. But we think that's the best way to do it, so we went ahead and installed 10 amp fuse on the harness. So we'll just plug that right in. There. Yep. We're gonna snap that back down into place. All right, so before I put that cover back on, you know, we've got our positive wire running out of the fuse box. So I'm just gonna cut a relief in the corner over here so that we don't pinch that positive wire running to the lights. This will be real easy. You can do this however you like, but I'm just gonna take some snips, cut right here, and cut right here. Oop, fish that out, but I'm just gonna tuck that down in that corner, and we'll put our cover back on. All right, so we got our cover back on, and we're just ready to connect our ground. This is gonna be the last step, and we'll test it out, make sure it's working. So, plenty of options for ground. I'm gonna go ahead and attach, I think, to the M6 here that holds on this bracket. We got that bolt out, and we're ready to put our ground on. This is where I'm gonna ground to, because we got nice exposed metal here, but depending on where you decide to go, if you go to a painted surface, like say I went to the fender bolt or something like that, I would just want to scratch off a little bit of the paint so we get a good connection on this ring terminal. But we shouldn't have to worry about that here. So got this wire nice, and then go ahead and put everything back in place. So the last thing I'm going to do is reconnect the negative lead on the battery, and then we'll go test out our lights. Don't want to go crazy with that, just snug that up. Should be completely installed. I guess we'll go ahead and test everything out. So you can see we've got our Raptor lights on here. These will come on anytime the truck is on and running. But like we said, you know, you can pick and choose what fuse you want to run it to. But yeah, we're pretty happy with the end result. I think it looks pretty cool. So if you like the way this looks and you want a set of Grille lights for your D41 Frontier, check out Z1Offroad.com.